This is a absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, okay.
You'll make way more money with the time you get back. 'Cause look, more than anything else, that's what Alice has done for me, is she's given me probably 10 hours a week back.
Wow.
So I can be way more productive and valuable to my company with those 10 hours than versus what I'll pay to have her on the team. Like, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah. What are you teaching me today?
Last episode, we were talking about productivity and
Yes.
kind of went through how I try to be as efficient as possible and how I take annual goals and break it down to quarterly goals. And at the end of that, we mentioned my executive assistant, Alice, and you threw out the idea we should do an episode with Alice and about how we work together and how, adding her to our team here has been a massive boost of productivity.
And how to get one anyway, like how to get that's just.
Yeah. And I remember, and we'll get into this, but I remember thinking, this sounds great. Sounds also like a ton of work to get into a place where it would be really effective.
When did you hear about it first?
Years ago, the idea of a virtual assistant. I think I learned it through Michael Hyatt. And, he talks about it a lot. He's written a book on it, how to utilize a virtual assistant or an executive assistant. And so for years, I thought it'd be a good idea. And then I finally took the plunge 2022 with so I had an executive assistant who was part-time through an American-based company, but she was part-time and it wasn't ideal. And then, so I made the switch using a company called SUPERPOWERS HQ. They connected me with Alice. So I'll get into all that, but I got in.
Let me do just a quick clarifying. There's executive assistant, there's virtual assistant. They're virtually the same thing. No pun intended. Is that the same thing?
So an executive assistant is just someone who is an executive. A virtual assistant is someone who's not live and in person.
Right.
And in this case, I have an EA, an executive assistant, who is virtual. Her name's Alice, and she's in the Philippines. So
right.
We'll meet her later.
So with Michael Hyatt's book, is that his name, Michael Hyatt? Is he talking about specifically just an executive assistant? Or does he talk about virtual assistants in there as well?
I think he does both. It's been years since I've read it, so frankly, I don't really remember. But
I remember first hearing about it through Tim Ferriss, reading his book, 4-Hour Workweek, and he talked about specifically the virtual assistant, right? And the benefits of virtual assistant and that. So I just wanted to clarify as we're talking through this, it seems a lot easier to be able to interview somebody in person to come and work as your executive assistant in the desk in the next office, as opposed to somebody you're never going to meet probably face-to-face that's in another country.
Yeah.
Right.
I would suggest that that's opposite. The opposite is true. And we can get into why I think that here in a minute. But I got an email last night.
Sure.
And a buddy of mine named Reed Bennett with SVN in Chicago sends me this email. And here's what it said. This is after he listened to our previous episode on productivity. He says, "Fantastic episode. I definitely like Timmy's idea of doing one on your process with Alice. That sounds fan-thing-tastic." That's how he wrote it. What you have with her. How much is she charging you? How did you learn to trust that she was going to be the right person for you? Does she have a sister? Crying, laughing emoji, right?
Yeah.
Really dig the interaction you have with your brother on the podcast. You guys work very well together, and the mix of your personalities really keeps the conversation fresh. Talk soon. By the way, I was going to send you this message on LinkedIn, but noticed you rarely return messages there, which is very true. So, Reed, thanks for sending me the email. We're going to bring Alice on here in a little bit, talk to her about how we work together. And
awesome. Yeah,
this ought to be good.
This is great because there is that point of view of you've gone through the process of doing it and what you went through. I love that we're having Alice I'm so excited to hear from her. Alice, I I just want you to be so bold. I want you to rip Bo apart. Which I know she probably won't, but
Too nice.
Yeah, what I mean to say is I'm excited to hear her point of view of what
Me too.
Yeah. Right. What can you do better for her to, help me help you?
So maybe we could start off by talking a little bit about how I found Alice, how I was connected with Alice, and what that process looked like. And you were even mentioning before we hit record, you've talked with Tara about this idea of an executive assistant, and would you guys have to get a certain amount of organized,
right?
Even to bring somebody on so they can help you, or
what is it that they need?
Yeah, so I will tell you that Alice has helped me become much more organized, and I'm fairly organized. That's not like a unique ability of mine.
Not like Cody.
Probably not like Cody, our sister. So here's how I found Alice. I'm in strategic coach. I mentioned that before. My coach is a guy named Stephen Nooner, and he's out of Texas.
Nooner.
I knew that was coming.
You can't.
You just,
Everybody was thinking it, right?
That's true. Probably.
Let us know in the comments if you were thinking Nooner when you heard that name. Go ahead.
But he founded this company called SUPERPOWERS HQ, and what they do is they match entrepreneurs with executive assistants. Generally, those executive assistants are virtual, and I think most of them are out of the Philippines, like Alice. Now, when I first heard of getting an executive assistant out of the Philippines, I did not understand anything about the Philippines. Right off the bat, I'm thinking, there's going to be a language barrier. I didn't really want to deal with a language barrier. It seemed like that would make everything harder. Different cultures, different time zones, different, all of that was like, that doesn't seem like that would work very well. That was my initial thought.
That's ignorance,
But I had this executive assistant who, ignorance. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But I was ignorant of how things work because they're not that way at all.
Right.
But I had this executive assistant. She was in South Carolina. She was good. But like I said, she was part-time. She served a couple different entrepreneurs. It was working okay, but
that was a different company, right?
It was a different company. And I was trying to find an executive assistant who could actually manage me. Like really manage me, as opposed to just taking direction and executing.
Sure.
Which means now everything's still on me. The more I knew about my coach, Stephen Nooner, the more I trusted him, which I do, the more that trust translated to his company. And so I scheduled a call with them. It was like a sales call. Here's how the process works. Here's what it looks like. Here's some of the successes that we've had. Here's what we're finding, all that stuff. And it just sounded really good. And I remember thinking, if this is only half as good as they're purporting it to be, I'll be satisfied. So I made a decision to switch companies, switch executive assistants, and move forward with SUPERPOWERS HQ. So they put me through this process of, I had to take something like a personality test, I forget. But they had me, fill out a questionnaire. They interviewed me, like, what do I like? What do I not like? One of the things I love about Alice is I like to get straight into the point. I like to get in, have the meeting, get out. Meetings can take as long as they need to take, but I don't want them to take 1 minute longer than they need to. And so, I understand the importance of small talk, but I don't want to spend more than like a minute or two doing that.
Sure.
And so, they were asking me questions about this. What do I like? And,
Hi,
so
I'm Bo Barron. I like walks on the beach. Some people say that I'm pretty funny. I'm also smart. Trying to be more organized, but if you were to go on a date with me, I would show you a great time. All I imagined was those little interviews like from the 1980s, like dating profile videos. Have you ever seen any of those?
Well, I remember what was it? There's like a game show, right?
But these are there's a lot of these videos of these men that put themselves on tape and women that put themselves on tape to be matched up for dating from the 80s that are like resurfacing on
I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, it's just so funny. But that's where my mind went to was just them asking you questions to put on video for, to be matchmaker. Anyway, go ahead.
So one of the other things that I did was I created an inventory of responsibilities. So essentially I spent like a week or two, and anything that I did, I wrote it down on a piece of paper. Just created this list of all the things that I was doing. And I've done this a number of times before. I also went through our property manager's inventory of responsibilities, what she was doing all the time. Because some of what I didn't want to do and some of the things I didn't want the Penny, our property manager, doing were going to become the job description of my next EA. So I'd prepared some of that. There's a woman at SUPERPOWERS HQ named Amber, and her job is to get to know me and to match me with somebody who'd be a great fit. So she's taking me through all these questions, interviewing me, getting to know me, what our business looks like, what we're trying to accomplish, what I want the future to look like, all that stuff.
Wow.
And then she took all that information and this inventory of responsibilities, kind of this job description, and she went and found Alice and look, I don't know if they have like this huge inventory of potential EAs. I don't know what it looks like on their side, but then I
guess we'll find out.
Yep.
We might.
Yeah. Maybe Alice knows. Yeah. But she matched me with Alice, and for we had a initial call, which was me and Amber and Alice, and met each other and talked through some of the things went through, kind of that job description, the three of us. And it was very, like, Amber was integral in that initial meeting and the first 30 days of us working together. Like, she's checking in with us all the time and all that stuff. And then there was another check-in, I think, at 60 days and another at 90 days. And since 90 days, everything was going great, especially from my perspective. Every so often I'll get an email from Amber just kind of checking in. But SUPERPOWERS HQ, like, their staff is invested in making sure things work right. Now, here's why I made this comment earlier on, where I think it's easier to go through a company like this to find an executive assistant as opposed to doing the interviewing yourself, getting somebody in the office. All that stuff that SUPERPOWERS HQ did to learn me and our business helped them make a great selection. And they trained Alice on how to work with entrepreneurs.
Wow, yeah.
Or specifically me. So they're doing all of this work to tee up this entrepreneur executive assistant relationship to really work.
Wow.
I don't have the capacity for that, and I don't know what they know about how things work well. So I'm getting a huge benefit off of that. Now, let's say it wasn't a great match. Well, I don't have to turn around and fire the executive assistant. I go to Amber and say, look, I don't really think this is working out. Can we try again? And then they go get me a new one. Or I could go to Amber and say, look, I'm 80% in love with what my EA is doing, but this 20% is kind of a problem. Could you address that for me? It's kind of like SUPERPOWERS. Once they make the match, act as the HR department.
Sure.
And I don't have to do that.
I'm just curious of what the rate is on the first matches. How many stick? You know what I mean? I wonder what the rate is. I bet it's high.
I bet it's high.
Yeah.
They do so much work on the front end.
Right. I bet it's high.
I bet they do have a real high hit rate, would be my guess. But letting them do what they do best was a huge benefit for me. And if I tried to find my own from Owensboro and get them into the office, it would have been a lot of work to go through that process. It would have all been on me. And if I made a bad call, I would have had to fire somebody and then start over. And you know, instead, I can just pay SUPERPOWERS. They turn around and pay Alice. So Alice isn't even my employee.
Oh, gotcha.
I contract with SUPERPOWERS, pay them, and they pay her.
I see. Yeah.
So I don't have another employee who's getting a W-2, who's getting, help. Like, that's where things start to get really expensive. And so it's generally a less expensive option to go the virtual route than it is to hire somebody on your own.
Yeah.
The other big issue I had, and I remember on our first...
Are we going to be talking about numbers, like how much it cost initially and going through? Do you feel comfortable doing that?
Let's not do that.
Okay. Well,
it's
reasonable.
reasonable.
I know everyone... Yeah, okay. I know, because in his email, he's like, of course, everyone's thinking, like, what's it cost? What's it going to charge? So if there's anybody that is curious about that, I guess just go to SUPERPOWERS HQ and contact them and figure it out. But you're saying it's reasonable.
Oh my gosh, it's worth it.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're an entrepreneur and you're making $75,000 a year or more, this is an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah. Okay.
You'll make way more money with the time you get back. Because look, more than anything else, that's what Alice has done for me, is she's given me probably 10 hours a week back.
Wow.
So I can be way more productive and valuable to my company with those 10 hours than versus what I'll pay to have her on the team. Like, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing that SUPERPOWERS does. And we talked about this in the last episode. I'm in strategic coach. And so I'm implementing the entrepreneurial time system that they created. We talked about free, focus, and buffer days. There's all kinds of tools that generally revolve around thinking differently that are massively impactful to my business. And they train Alice on all of that.
Wow.
I don't have to teach her that stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
So that's a massive benefit.
Yeah.
Like, she's already thinking the way I'm thinking.
Sure.
Because they put her through the training to learn that stuff. Yeah. And now she helps manage me and keep me on track and hold me accountable to actually implementing those things that I'm trying to implement.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to go through the process of explaining it all to her and teaching it all to her.
Yeah.
Huge benefit.
Yeah. Now, you might not know the answer to this, but like, as far as somebody who's not familiar with strategic coach, if they're coming into that, they're getting that, would they be getting that added benefit of finding an EA that's able to help them implement those kind of things or that kind of way of thinking?
I don't know how they handle it. I would think that if somebody weren't a part of strategic coach, their EA probably would not be teaching them that stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever system they wanted to implement, they could support and hold accountable and actually help manage that.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they've got tons of clients that aren't strategic coach clients.
Right. I'm sure they're somewhat a part of like that preamble of asking questions or figuring things out.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they would know. Yeah. They would definitely know. One of my concerns was, she's like 14 hours ahead of me or 12 hours ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
She works when I work, which means she's up all night. She sleeps during the day. And I was concerned about this for her.
Sure.
That's not fun. If everybody in your life is asleep at night and awake during the day, and you're the one that's awake at night and sleep during the day, like, that's not I don't like that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And her answer to that was, a ton of our economy serves the United States in ways similar to this. And so all kinds of us do this. Like, it's not just me that's going to be, missing out every day and that kind of thing. So
that kind of soothed that concern.
It did.
Yeah.
And, I travel a fair amount. And when I go to the West Coast and I'm on Pacific time, Alice is on Pacific time.
Mm-hmm.
When I go to the East Coast and, she's on the time, like, she operates on the time zone that I'm on.
Yeah.
She's always available when I'm working.
Yeah.
And that's what I was looking for. And the only thing I've been able to figure out that she can't do because she's not present is she can't get my dry cleaning for me.
Oh, right.
Just about everything else, we've figured out how to make it work.
Right.
Some things are really easy. Most things can be done virtually these days.
One thing I noticed too, and this might end up being a question for you, but like Notion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Notion is a great program. You never used it before. Is that correct?
Didn't know about it.
She introduced you to Notion. How did that come about? I'm curious.
So SUPERPOWERS HQ runs their whole company off of Notion.
Okay.
And so I don't know, and Alice can tell us when we bring her on here in a minute, but like, I don't know if they introduced Notion to her.
Mm-hmm.
But going through this process, I got introduced to Notion. And I even had a call with Amber. Hey, look, if I wanted to get my whole company operating off Notion, like, is that possible? What would that look like? And she showed me some stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to learn how to do all this stuff. Like, can Alice do it? She's like, yeah, Alice can do it. So like Alice has basically been systematizing our business on this program called Notion.
Yeah.
And made everything
Yeah.
operate so much more smoothly.
Right. Like I've seen that firsthand when it comes to the podcast, you know. I know exactly where to go to drop the things I need to drop.
Yeah, I mean, we run the podcast off of Notion, like the different stages that an episode goes through to get to the point where it's launched and published, and everything from our episode ideas to, it's just it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, it's those things that I'm observing that's just so incredible. You're getting more than an executive assistant, it seems like. You got somebody, it just seems like Alice is a freaking sponge, to quickly learn things and soak it up and then become a master at using that stuff.
There is nothing I've thrown at her so far that she hasn't exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
Like I haven't tried to get her to do anything that she couldn't handle and do very well.
Yeah.
And it's amazed me.
Yeah. Oh, we love Alice.
So now my question is Alice and all her sisters and all the other folks in the field, are they all this awesome?
Right.
Or did I get
lucky?
Or did I get super lucky?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah. I guess we'll find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
So we can bring Alice on in a minute, but let me kind of take you through all the things she does for me, and I'm sure I'm leaving out some things, but I'm making kind of a list.
And then you all are also gonna kind of walk us through the morning sync that you all do.
So we meet every morning, either at 9 or 9:30, and we go through the day. Or on Mondays we go through the week and the following week. Yeah, and she'll take me through my schedule for the day. And we'll review my to-dos. There's a couple things that she holds me accountable on. Like, she always asks me, did you go to the gym yesterday? Or,
sure.
Cool. If not, do you have plans to do it today? It's like,
we're going to walk through that. We're
going to demonstrate how that looks.
Cool.
And then you'll get to see Notion as well, because we do that off of Notion.
Okay, great.
She handles my calendar. So I'm not supposed to touch my calendar anymore. And most of the time I'm good about this. Every so often I'll schedule my own meeting or, schedule my own haircut or whatever, but I'm not supposed to touch it anymore. She does all my scheduling as well. So like if we're trying to get a podcast guest or if I'm trying to schedule a meeting with a prospect or a client or a potential investor or any of these people that I meet with, if I'm reaching out to somebody, I might send them an email. Hey, I'd love to get with you, talk about this. I've copied my assistant, Alice, on this email. If you've got some opening next week, just reply to this email and she'll schedule it for us. Makes it very easy. She puts it on the calendar. If it's a Zoom invite, she sends out the Zoom information, all that stuff. If I get an email request for a meeting, then I'll respond and say, hey, look, I've copied Alice. Give them the same spiel. She'll get with you and schedule it, and we'll get it on the books kind of thing. That has saved me so much brain damage, so much time. That might be my favorite thing. Because just this, like all the people we interact with all the time, to get it on a schedule and for her to know that I want most of these meetings to happen on my buffer days. And so she'll schedule it in those 3 days a week that are buffer days versus my 2 focus days. Yeah. Where I'm trying to do different type tasks in those days. Like, man, that helps so much. Yeah.
Just to recap, if you didn't watch that other episode, which will be here in the comments downstairs, there are three different types of days. Free day, which is basically you're doing family stuff or
I'm not working.
Not working.
Yeah.
Buffer days and focus days. Focus days, you're focusing 80% of your energy into what's the most important that only really you can do.
I'm trying to stay in my unique ability in those days because that's where I'm the most valuable to the company. And so ideally 80% of my time is spent in my unique ability on my focus days. Now there might be meetings that fit under that. But most meetings end up going on buffer days. Buffer days are the days where you put out the fires, and your buffer days are to set up successful focus and free days.
Oh, okay.
So that's what the buffer days are there for.
Right. I really liked what you said about free days. Is it's not a reward.
Yeah.
Right. It's something that you're putting in on purpose.
Yeah. Free days are to recharge so that you can go into your week or your work week or your work 4 days or your 4-hour work week or whatever it is.
Sure.
Fully charged and as creative as possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get that from having great free days.
Right. Yeah.
You show up well rested. You're
full
organized.
with your family time.
Yeah, all that stuff. And so most people think, man, I'm going to put in 5 grueling days of work and I'm going to earn my weekend.
Yeah. I'm going to drink on Friday night. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. Saturday
it's
shot.
opposite.
Yeah.
It's opposite.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. Well, yeah, I just wanted to clarify or throw that in real quick.
Yep.
Go.
And so Alice understands which days are which. We decide that ahead of time, and then that informs how she schedules for me, and it's wonderful. She also handles my email.
Yeah. I know this is a podcast, but I just threw my hands up, dropped my pencil, and did that emoji.
So she doesn't get me to inbox 0. What she does is she gets
I take all that back.
She gets rid of everything that's the junk. Mm-hmm. And so the only thing
We're back
in there,
again.
yeah, the only thing in my inbox are the things I need to respond to. Mm-hmm. So, and what a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes she responds for me, and I bet as we kind of get to the next level, we'll be able to create some templates on normal responses to emails that I like. And she might actually start responding as me or on my behalf. She does all my travel. And this is another thing that just caused me a lot of brain damage and sucked a lot of mental bandwidth from me. And she's learned my travel habits, what I like, what I don't like. And so we haven't got quite to the point where I tell her, hey, I need to be in this place in these days. And then all of a sudden my airplane ticket is fixed and my rental car's there if I need one and the hotel is booked or whatever. What she does for me is she goes and gets me 3 or 4 options and then I tell her which flight I want to take.
Yeah.
Next level there would be she just has learned
the decision.
And we could probably do that now. I could probably just release it to her and she'd just do it.
You just got to let go.
Email. It's probably just a function of me letting go.
Yeah.
So she does that. That's fantastic.
That's
she
great.
keeps a list for me of my top 50 relationships. And so what this is,
Well, I'm sorry to stop you because I've got a travel thought. Thought.
Yep.
Just real quick. You know how like you've got credit cards that give you travel points or things like that. Is that a part of the equation when it comes to travel between the two of you? I was just curious.
she has access to all my credit cards. And so I generally have one for work and one for personal. I don't geek out on having 3 different credit cards because
we got to travel
this kind of thing and I'll get more points. And
sure.
My work credit card is a travel credit card.
Travel rewards.
So I get a lot of points, and Autumn and I our 23rd anniversary is coming up in a couple weeks.
Yes, it is.
And so we're using points to take a little anniversary vacation.
That's right. 22nd, right?
23rd.
23rd. Yeah, 23rd. 22nd was Brad.
Oh, wait. This is my 23rd anniversary. The anniversary is
the 22nd.
22nd.
Yes, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And since we're talking dates, you've had a birthday.
That's right, yeah.
Since our last episode.
That's right, yeah.
So happy birthday,
brother. Happy birthday to me. Thank you. Thank you.
So this top 50 relationship, she keeps a record of, and now these are family members, great friends, important clients. There's a top 50 list. And she goes on social media and she figures out birthdays, anniversaries, work anniversaries for our employees here. And so when we get into a new month, hey, here's the top 50 with their important dates. And we decide, hey, do I want to get a gift? Do I want to send a card? She helps me keep these people top of mind because they're either super important to the business or I care and love them. And I want to be proactive about pouring into those relationships.
Yes.
And so she just helps me keep those folks top of mind.
Alice, Bo just gave me my birthday present today before walking in here. So thank you so much for doing the research and finding that.
We actually use Tara.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
For that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But Alice ordered it and shipped it to my house, and then Maddie wrapped it. And I delivered it to you.
Oh, that was so nice. Thank you, Alice.
So like everything else in my life these days, I might initiate the process, but it's all delegated and then I pay for it.
Yeah. Big money, big money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She has a huge role in our brokerage company. So here's some of the things she does. One, she's put it all on Notion. Okay. She creates our documents, listing agreements, leases. She does our leases. My executive assistant in the Philippines does our leases.
All the lawyers that are listening right now.
Yep, I'm sorry. Now, we have historical templates, and she's created worksheets that we fill out that tell her what needs to be in the leases. She creates the draft, then we review it, and man, maybe I have to change one or two things, like little bitty tweaks, and then we send it off. But that process is so fast now because we have this very, very simple worksheet to fill out, which lives in Notion. Once we fill it out, she's notified through Notion. She takes that information, she creates the document, listing, purchase agreement, lease, letter of intent, exclusive right to lease, addendums, any of those. We got templates on all that stuff. Fill out the worksheet. She creates it, sends it to us. We review. If it needs to be tweaked, she tweaks. I mean, it's so fast, so efficient. And again, I remember when I turned this over to her thinking, like, will she be able to do a lease?
Right.
I mean, like it's nothing.
Wow.
She's so impressive.
Wow. Who did the leases before?
Penny.
Penny, yeah.
Penny did. And she was good at it too.
Yeah.
But she's a property manager.
Right. She's got a lot.
She's got a full plate.
Right.
And then we pile all this brokerage stuff on top of her. Actually, the way it worked is she started more on the brokerage side. And as she grew, her unique ability seems to be much more on the property management side. And so we've been growing that part of our business and giving her more and more responsibility there to the point where it was like, it's clear she's a property manager. That's probably her sweet spot. And it's the most valuable thing she can do for our company. So then I needed to figure out how to take that brokerage stuff away from her.
Yeah.
And Alice helped us build it into Notion.
Yeah.
And I mean, she can do it all.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. Because Penny actually has to like show up and knock on the door and say, show me the money, right?
Yeah. She's collecting rents.
Yeah.
Very important.
Yeah. Penny.
Alice,
we love you too, Penny.
That's right.
Yeah.
Alice also does, she creates call lists for new listings. So when we get a new listing, we give her just a little bit of information on who the ideal buyer or tenant might be to buy or lease the space. And she goes into this database that we have access to and creates, for instance, we just listed on Carter Road hair salon. Well, she's going in there and she's going to pull every hair salon in town and everybody who has a license, and we're going to have a database, and we're going to directly connect with all of those people and make sure they know that this space is available.
Leads.
Yeah. Now she does that for all our new listings. It's just part of the process that she goes through, and she sends us a spreadsheet of the people and their contact information, and boom, we just start calling or emailing or whatever.
Wow.
So we're not just putting up a sign and putting it online and praying that the phone will ring. We're proactively targeting the likely people who should buy or lease this space, and we're going after them directly. And she tells us who those people are. She creates a list. It's beautiful.
And did Penny do that before as well? Who did that before?
I would do it if I thought about it.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so a lot of times we just wouldn't do it. And we just, small town, we've done business here for a long time, so we have a feel for that, just sort of.
You know who you're going to call.
But it was all kinds of people would fall through the cracks, or we wouldn't think of somebody. And so this has systematized it and made it much more effective.
Yeah.
And it serves our listing clients so much better because, man, we are targeting the obvious people who should be in this space or buy this building. And
I know you've been proactive before, but this allows
Yeah, this is just next level.
Yeah.
She does all our marketing. So she creates our marketing materials for our new listings. We use a program called Build Out. I created some Loom videos on how to do it. We sort of systematize that process. And so when we get a new listing, our whoever the agent is getting the listing, they go into Build Out and they make it exist, right? So new file, essentially. They'll describe the property and put in like, you know, how many square feet, the stuff that Alice wouldn't know. And then she takes that, or we also upload the pictures, and then she takes that and creates our marketing.
Yeah. Wow.
It's beautiful. And she does a great job with it.
Beautiful.
She email blasts all our marketing stuff. So we get a new listing or we have a new sale or whatever. She blasts that out to our email lists so we don't have to do it. She updates our website and all the listing websites that we use.
Wow.
Like she keeps everything current.
Wow.
I mean,
Fantastic.
it's stinking awesome.
Yeah.
This way, our sales team can focus on selling
Yeah.
and not doing all the like administrative marketing stuff.
Sure.
Alice can handle it all from the Philippines.
And that's why you got top producer Todd Humphreys.
And he gets to sell more.
Right. He gets
And not do, and let's be real honest, like Todd's not awesome at the tech stuff. And so if we can take that off his plate
Yeah.
and let him do what he is awesome with,
Yeah.
which is leasing space and selling buildings and
Yeah.
finding new, opportunities. Like, man, the more he can be doing that, the more
Yeah.
successful everybody is.
He's
So
also a snappy dresser.
he is a
I
snappy
don't want to
dresser.
overlook that.
Yeah.
His vests are great. Yeah.
Yeah. She also has created SOPs for our company,
What's a SOP?
a standard operating procedure.
Okay.
So let's say, God forbid, I get hit by a bus tomorrow. We can pull up the standard operating procedures for the brokerage company, and somebody could come in and fill my shoes and understand what we do and how we do it.
Wow.
It's written down.
Wow.
It's not just in my head, it's written down. She's now working with Penny to create this standard operating procedures for the property management company.
Yeah.
And so she basically just interviews Penny on all the things that she does and how that stuff works and what she does to do it. And then she catalogs it all, turns it into standard operating procedures. And then I go in there, tweak it, edit it. And since it's in front of me on paper, now I can start thinking through how can we do these things better? Well,
Yeah.
frankly, the stuff that Penny does, I've never done that job. I don't know how to do QuickBooks.
Yeah.
I don't know how to collect rent the way she does it. I don't know what to do with the check once we get it. Well, actually, I do know what to do. I set it on Penny's desk.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what goes on. If something were to happen to Penny,
Yeah.
we'd be in trouble. So now that it will, very shortly, it's all going to be on paper, and that what helps me understand what Penny actually does. Like I see the results of what she does,
Right.
but I don't know what she actually does. And because I don't know, I can't really get in there and help her do things better.
Right. And you don't have much insurance, right?
Yeah. Like there's a big risk there. Like if we lose Penny, that's a huge hole, and it'd be really, really hard to get in there and figure out how she does everything.
Right.
So,
Right.
so yeah, I'm excited to get all that on paper and the more I understand about what Penny does, and it could be anybody, but in this case, we're talking about Penny.
Yeah.
I now understand what I can do to lead her better and to help her be more successful.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's huge. And it's all because Alice is going through the process with Penny of creating our standard operating procedures,
Right.
which is a wonderful thing. She also does all our podcast stuff. She's our producer. She schedules the guests. When we have them, she schedules with you the time for us to sit down and actually record the episodes. Like rarely do we ever say, hey, let's do next week on Tuesday from 1 to 3.
Right.
Like, I tell Alice on one of our morning syncs, hey, we need to record a couple episodes next week. So get with Penny, get with Timmy, and try to find a time, and then all of a sudden it's on the calendar.
Right. Or I'm getting a text from you because I didn't respond to the email because I'm scared to open my email.
Yeah, that's probably half the time.
Yeah.
But once we publish the episodes, all right, she sends out an email blast to our list. Hey, there's a new episode. Here's the link. Here's what it's about. Right. She updates our website. So you can go on Barron Commercial and you can find all our podcast episodes.
Oh,
and
for
the
real?
videos.
Oh, wow.
And she does all that.
Oh, wow.
I don't do that.
Yeah.
They're all there.
Oh.
Schedules the guests, all that stuff. She also, we've created some email templates when we do have guests. Like she just sends out those templates. Hey, we're recording it tomorrow. Hey, be sure your lighting's good, and like some tips on how to make them sound better and look better and all that stuff. She also schedules my haircuts. Now, I got one today, and this one I scheduled on my own.
Oh, it looks good. I thought you looked really good.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just about 2 hours old at this point.
Oh, wow. I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was, I must have said something to you.
Yeah, you must
handsome.
have. I probably just didn't think about it or remember. I probably just didn't remember.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But we've even systematized this. If I haven't had a haircut in 4 weeks, just go ahead and schedule me. Or if it's been 3 weeks and I'm about to go teach somewhere, schedule me one a couple of days before I leave.
Yeah.
And so they just show up. I don't have to think about them anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And she schedules my date nights with my wife. Now, I was a little bit hesitant on this one. I was like, am I going to get credit for date nights if Alice schedules them for me? You know, turns out I do, and they happen.
It's better than them not happening because it just slipped by.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, wait, there's one more thing. So there's the daily sync, and Alice and I will demonstrate this when we bring her on. She also sends me an email at the end of the day. Here's what we accomplished today. And it's literally a bullet point list of all the things that she did that day. Now, I don't require this, and if I'm being honest, I don't look at it every time. I probably look at like 60 or 70% of them. But what it does do is it reminds me of her value, and I end up having more gratitude for her and her work every time I look at that email. It also like closes some loops for me. So if I've asked her to reach out to X, Y, and Z and schedule meetings with those people, I can see the progress we've made, and I don't have to ask her about it. So it's just another thing, and it's kind of the start of the day. I have my daily sync with Alice, and at the end of the day, I get that email right around 5 o'clock, and here's the progress we made today. And I go home often after reading that email, feeling really great about the progress that we made today. You know, it helps me close the loop on the day, transition to, all right, I'm going home, I'm going to have dinner with the family, I'm going to spend family time, and I'm not nearly as preoccupied because those loops are closed.
Yeah.
And it's
a
beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, the only other question I have right now sitting is one to ask Alice. Is it about time to bring her on?
It is.
Yeah.
After I use the restroom.
I also got to do the same.
All right.
I got
Alice,
to do the same.
don't go anywhere.
And then we'll bring you on.
All right.
Woo! If you have not yet subscribed to our channel, now is the time to do it. Hit that notification bell. If you're listening on any podcast platform that you're listening to, please, if you would, leave a review. It helps us out a great deal. Next week, we've got the legend herself, Alice, coming onto the podcast. We're going to hear from her point of view of what it's like to work with an entrepreneur and some really common mistakes that she has learned that entrepreneurs make when working with an executive assistant or a virtual assistant. You do not want to miss that episode. It is chock full of great information. Alice, we dote on her all the time. We love her. You all get to meet her next week. My name is Timmy. That was Bo Barron. This is Commercially Speaking.